Once again, you're most welcome to Everything Literature. If you're a new enthusiast on board, do well to subscribe and click the notification button to stay updated. And to all our returning subscribers, big shout out to you all. Thank you so much. In today's video, we'll be running an overview of the 6 selected African poems for the sake of those preparing for literature in English, WAEC, Neco Jamb. So let's dive in together. Yippee! The 6 selected African poems for WAEC, Neco Jamb are Black Woman by Leopold, Senghor, The Leader and the Lade by Niyi Osundare, The Grieved, Lands of Africa by Agostinho, The Song of the Women of My Land by Oumar Farouk, Sesay, Raider of the Treasure Trove by Lade Wosornu, A Government Rival on His Retirement by Chibuike. So you have to know that these poems, the selected poem, are in no particular order. Okay, and our analysis will be based on the following: the structure and form of the poem, the context and background of the poem, the content, subject matter, and theme of the poem. Okay, so let's get to dive deeper. Okay, so the very first one, Black Woman by Leopold Senghor. You have to know that Leopold Senghor happens to be the first national president of the African country, Senegal. And he is also one of the pioneers of the negritude movement. Now, talking about the poem itself, Black Woman. Based on its structure, the poem has a total of 33 lines, accompanied by several repetitions, refrains, parallelism, and rich symbolisms. In terms of context, woman, repeated all through the poem, is used with adjectives such as dark, naked, black, and all of these are more or less like sensual images and metaphor used to conceptualize the African woman, otherwise women of black race, as a mother, as a daughter, as a sister, as a lover, and of course the poet's African home, Senegal. Before the poem was written, now in terms of the context, the idea of beauty had often been seen through the lenses of the Europeans in the figure of the white women. So also was the worthiness of a culture and civilization measured by European values. So the idea of negritude is very important in understanding this poem, Black Woman, and majority of other Senghor's poem. In this poem specifically, Senghor represents his love for Africa, his homeland, his mother country, by personifying Africa as every woman he loves. Talk about his mother, he loves his mother, he loves his sister, he loves his lover, he loves his daughter, and all of that. So he praises the African culture by finding beauty in the color of the African skin, which is black, which had been the main cause for brutality and discrimination during the British rule in Africa. So the poem is a praise poem about the beauty of Africa and the beauty in black. Hashtag Black is beautiful, melanin pumping, and all of that. So in terms of content, the poem Black Woman, Senghor reinforces the idea of negritude. He personifies Africa as a nation, as an African woman. In the first 3 lines, naked woman, black woman, clothed with your color, which is life, and with your form, which is beauty. For the complete rendition of this poem, we have it available on this channel. You can click on the link above just to have a full recap or the full rendition of the poem. Okay, so he says that the African woman's true beauty lies in her natural self. He says that her color is life, and that it is the natural form of beauty. The African woman that Senghor talks about in his poem is a representation of the African race itself as well. In the 4th and 5th lines, Senghor equates Africa to a mother. He says that he grew up under the protection of his motherland. He calls Africa the promised land. We can see this in line 8. And then it says that he is returning to Africa, which for him is the promised land. Also, Senghor compares Africa to a lover. He praises her and compliments her, comparing her to a goddess. Throughout the poem, Senghor equates the African woman to everything beautiful and graceful. For instance, in the last stanza, he compares her skin to the well-oiled, beautiful skin of an athlete or the princes of Mali. He goes on to say that the African woman is an elegant and as graceful as a gazelle. Okay, and Senghor ends his poem on a philosophical note by saying that he will keep alive the African woman's beauty eternally in his poetry, and that is what resonates with the negritude as a movement. Okay, the poem can also be considered as an ode to the black woman. It's a metaphorical representation of the poet's persona's mother, sister, daughter, but above all, country home Senegal, which is loved just like a woman, and whose beauty struck him to heart like the flash of an eagle, and whose savannah stretched to clear horizon, savannah shuddering beneath the east winds, eagle caresses, and all of that. So too well to enjoy the poem Black Woman, Naked Woman, although it was originally, or should I say, it's originally written in French as Femme Noire. And yep, so without further ado, we move to the next poem, which is The Leader and the Lade by Niyi Osundare, written by the renowned Nigerian poet Niyi Osundare, who through his poetry combines concepts and tradition of the Yoruba culture with Marxist approaches. Osundare uses mythological concepts to discuss the struggle against social injustice and inhumanity. In terms of structure, The Leader and the Lade is a poem of 24 lines arranged into 12 stanzas each, with 2 lines. That is an overall of 12 couplets. Okay? Don't be scared. None of the couplets actually rhyme. So in terms of the context, The Leader and the Lade can be viewed as a satirical poem. It is a poem that imitates and ridicules the constant confusion in African electoral system. Its purpose is to expose and make a correction of the failings in the system of governance and leadership on the continent. Rather than being the usual literary parody, this poem is a political parody. Okay? The poet explores the types of totalitarian leaderships, the type where the leader takes it all and the masses are left with nothing. This is evident in the part or soul among the animals, because the poem is actually rendered as a fable, kind of, because animals are the characters in there, okay? Where each of the animals claim to have it all, while the masses and their positions withdrew into their shells for fear of being severely dealt with. At the end, the sage reveals that a leader should combine both the bravery and humility in his leadership. He should be mysterious like a lake, knows how to follow, since a good leader must be a good follower. Okay, so in terms of content, leadership is a central theme in the poem Leader and the Lade by Niyi Osundare. The poet speaks to us about the various aspects of the theme of leadership. In the poem, The Leader and the Lade, the poet persona's main preoccupation is about the difficulty of choosing a leader. The Leader and the Lade vividly describes to us the dilemma facing the Lade, that is the pack of animals, as they try to choose a leader. Clearly, these animals seem to have too many options placed before them. The challenge, however, is that none of the numerous options seems to be good enough. This is exactly the challenge facing the African people. The Lade in this poem have shown that they do not trust any one of the animals vying for leadership position. They dread, they shudder at the prospect of giving their mandate to potentially wicked and greedy leaders like the lion, the elephant, the hyenas. The repetitive use of the conjunctions but reinforces the theme of distrust or suspicion among the Lade, regardless of the protestation of any of the potential leaders. And at the same time, the Lade are unprepared to live under the inept, dishonest, corrupt leadership of such claimants such as the zebra and the giraffe, While the zebra is not trusted enough, the giraffe appears to have ideas that are just far-fetched from reality. Okay, and the next poem is The Grieved Land of Africa, The Grieved Lands of Africa by Agostinho Neto. Okay, Agostinho Neto, take note, he happens to be first democratic elected president of the independent country of Angola. Okay, Angola is one of the African countries. Okay, so he was involved heavily in activities that led to the movement of liberation in Angola, the MPLA. It's like a political movement. He was indeed a true freedom fighter, and Neto's poems are oftentimes classified as protest poetry based on his strong opposition to racial injustice, colonial aggressions, and total misrule. Okay, and based on structure, The Grieved Lands of Africa is a poem of 42 lines with 7 uneven stanzas. It is a free verse. Okay, and the Grieved Land, going by the context, represent the uniqueness of black race. You can see a similitude of Leopold Senghor's concept of negritude there, because the Grieved Land also depicts the resistance to slavery and colonial rule. It belongs to the group of poems which advance the unique beauty of the black race and the dominant strength of being black. The poet draws from the realistic nature of negritude, that is, as I've mentioned, it's related to negritude. It's a movement which celebrates and promotes the uniqueness and dominance of black race compared to other race, as propagated by Leopold Senghor. Okay, remember, black woman, naked woman. Okay, so in terms of content now, the poem, The Grieved Lands of Africa, the poet addresses the traumatic impact of servitude in Africa after over about 400 years of human slavery, during which many Africans were exported to different parts of the world, by presenting African race as an imperishable race, and African land as a land that can withstand anything. Taking a look at the poem, the first 3 stanzas talk about the degradation of Africa by slavery, imperialism, colonialism, and westernization. The poet uses these stanzas to decry the effect of Western influence on Africa, particularly in line 2. We take note of in the tearful woes of ancient and modern slave. In this line, the ancient there refers to the physical slavery, when men and women were forcefully moved out of the land of Africa to different part of the world, and the expression modern slave refers to the present psychological and mental slavery in Africa and among blacks, where Africans and blacks depend on the West for aids and solution. This is seen as the psychological acceptance of Western values, culture, in terms of the dressing, the lifestyle, and all of that. Okay, Agostinho poems geared towards national cultural movement. Do not forget what was said about Agostinho himself. Okay, so, and the aim of his poetry is actually to awaken African self-consciousness. So, going by the poem, the first stanza is simply an introduction of the poem that tickles the heart of the reader. Africans are seen as the unfortunate victims of the grieved lands, as the poet goes down the memory lane by tracing the predicament of the black man. He narrowed it down to the period of slavery in Africa, when Africans were enslaved due to no fault of theirs. Honestly, yes. He records the degrading human treatment in the lands of the capital. He draws a contrast between the ancient and modern slave of colonization. In stanza 2 up to the 4th stanza, the poet continues to lament the grieved lands. He uses the imagery of a flower, that is crushed in the forest jungle, to enable the reader to visualize how the African continent was taken over by the wickedness of iron and fire. It explained the destructive visits on Africa by the Western colonization, all in the name of Christianity and civilization and all of that. Okay, in stanza 5 to 7, the kind of Neto talks about the untimely death of African slaves who died on their way to Europe due to severe beating or exhaustion from starvation and simply murdered, were being thrown into the Atlantic Ocean. Finally, although the lands of Africa grieved as a result of the inhuman treatment of the Western colonial masters, the harmonious sound of conscience found in the honest blood of men mixed with strong desire and sincerity to exist in the pure and simply rightness of the stars. They live. Many were determined to overcome all unbearable suffering to survive the Western colonization towards independence, and some attained independence through war in terms of the grieved lands of Africa. Okay, so the thematic focus centers around the theme of grief, servitude, and hope in adversity. That kind of took a while. Okay, so moving on to a poem which thematically tends similar or same tenant as the Grieved Land of Africa is The Song of the Women of My Land by Oumar and Farouk Sesay. In terms of structure, it is a poem of 46 lines contained in 8 stanzas, and in terms of context, just like Neto's The Grieved Land of Africa, this poem illustrates the suffering of Africans during the era of slave trade. But specifically, the focus of this poem, that is the Song of the Women of our Land, is on the song, of the women of the poet's land. Obviously, the land in question is Africa, and the women are those who were victims of slave trade. So, to understand the content, we need to, the content of the poem, obviously. Okay, we need to go around these questions. What kind of song did they sing? Why did they sing the song? What is the significance of their song? Why the need to write a poem about the women's sound? Content-wise, okay? The type of song. The poet gives a vivid description of the type of songs sung by these women during the slave trade. As the women worked on their fallen field, they sang the songs of sorrow which reflect their mind and situation. They found solace in the song which kept them through their unhappy situation. The song paints the pictures of their lives. It is like the appearance of their mind. The lyrics of the songs give an illustration of their life. The songs, besides helping them through the difficult time, it also serves as a means of passing the memories of the women to generations yet to come. Remember Bob Marley? Redemption song. Okay, so moving forward, why did the women sing the song? The persona recount the stories of the women as told in their songs. The women and their experiences during the era of slavery are remembered through their songs. The experience or the memories are soon fading out with time. Only a remnant can be found roaming the field, more or less like personifying the song. How can the song be roaming the field? Okay, the poet says the memories are chopped away from the present generation like a sculptor chopping away at its bits of wood. That is actually how the poem starts by comparing how time affect and to how sculptor chops away bits of wood. Okay, the song is fading and will soon be forgotten unless there's a new way to preserve it from effect of time. Okay, so the significance of the song. The poet described the servitude of the women as portrayed by the songs. The songs comforted and strengthened them to go through the tough phases of their lives, even when it seems like their lives are falling apart. The song held their lives together. The slavery might break them, but the song would always mend them. Why write a poem about the song of the women? The poet hopes that through the lines of a poem, the stories of the African women who actually found solace in the song of their slavery will be protected. The poet feels dejected, and the stories of the toils of these women are soon forgotten because no one cares to listen to the songs anymore. It's more or less, remember the poem Cagebird by Maya Angelou? Okay, so see the song by the Cagebird to be more or less like the song of the women of the land. Okay, that's just me trying to compare and contrast two poems. Okay, and that brings us to the end of that. So next poem we focus on is Raider of the Treasure Trove. In Raider of the Treasure Trove, based on structure, Lade Wosornu's poem Raider of the Treasure Trove consists of 5 stanzas and a total of 23 lines. The first stanza has 4 lines, while the second, third, and fourth stanza each have 5 lines, and the fifth stanza has 4 lines. I hope you just get that. We have a total of 5 stanzas, 23 lines. So first stanza, 4 lines. Second, third, and fourth has 5 lines. And the fifth stanza has 4 lines. Okay, I hope that helps. Context-wise, in the Raider of the Treasure Trove, Lade Wosornu emphasizes the negative impact rage, that is anger, can wreak on a man's life, because that's just the focus of the poem. Many have built a lot of goodwill through hard work and over a long period of time, only to destroy it with rage. That's how destructive the rage can be. I mean, anger, some people can get angry and they don't mind bringing down nations. He expresses that this inherent potential of rage in his poem and presents its overwhelming damage to the treasure trove. What's the treasure trove? What's a treasure trove? Okay, so going through the content of the poem. Throughout the poem, the speaker once again the destructive power of rage and advocates for a life of love and compassion. The poet uses a conversational tone and frequently uses the pronoun I and you to address an unknown listener, using nautical, sea or marine related terms like sails, streams, and birth. The poem likens life journey to a sea voyage, with man's movements akin to a ship's sailing. Do you get that? Okay. The central concept of the poem is the destructive nature of rage itself, which the speaker personifies as a raider. That is why the poem is titled The Raider. What is the raider? A thief, a plunderer, a spoiler of man's treasures. What are the treasures? Charity, laughter, sweetness, and joy, as mentioned in the poem. Okay. The poet highlights rage as an entity with its own inherent features, imbuing it with human-like attributes and capabilities. Rage is treated as a proper noun, always spelled with an uppercase R, and is shown to be capable of robbing, ruining, dragging, breaking, and last but not least, wrecking calamity. Okay, and the last poem we're going to look at is A Government Driver on His Retirement by Oumar Chibuike. The poet Oumar Chibuike Egwato Kingsley is a Nigerian writer and teacher. Based on structure, the poem A Government Driver on His Retirement is a poem of 33 lines. 33 lines, divided into 6 stanzas. Stanza 1, 2, 4, and 5 have 4 lines, while 3 and 6 have 8 and 9 lines respectively. Look at the structure of most of all these poems. They're just kind of not too regular. Okay. Context-wise, Oumar Kingsley's Chibuike's poem is a commentary on the nature of everyday life of the average Nigerian civil servants. While some civil servants in Nigeria may be accused of forgery of birth certificates to extend his stay in the office, the poet personnel in this particular poem welcomes his retirement from the civil service with celebration, a mark of freedom from the daily toil of duty. The other important aspect that forms the context to the background of his poem is the drink and drive attitude of many Nigerian road users. So if you're not from Nigeria, you may not really understand how some people can get to drink and drive on the road. It's not actually peculiar to Nigeria as a country. It's just something endemic to drivers generally, and that is what Chibuike is discussing in this poem. Okay, while one can easily identify with this celebration, the disastrous end of of the poetic persona highlight a major cause of road crashes, not only in Nigeria, just as we all know that where the writer is from, but also in many parts of the world. Honor therefore gives this poem a universal appeal by using these seemingly unrelated circumstances to beam a light on the narrow gap between celebration and calamity. Okay. Content-wise, the narrative poem opens by revealing a joyful government driver who, after 35 years of faithful service, has to today retires. So glad he is about his retirement that he calls on friends to rejoice with him, and he declares that I shall booze and zoom myself home, because he has for many years stops his buzzy throat from tasting any alcoholic drink in obedience to his duty rules and regulations. He wanted to drink many drinks today with friends, since he has not tasted something much for the ample years he used in service, as a way of abiding by the rules set for him by the civil service under which he worked. So serious he is to celebrate his freedom, because he is certain that early duty tomorrow holds not, and so he has to buzz to sleep away his sufferings. He believes in jubilating his freedom, and that makes him a king, because he is sure that he has no early work or tax to attend to earlier as usual tomorrow in the civil service again. He continues to call on his friends and is awarded a brown new car as an appreciative symbol for the diligent duty he performed while in service. He bills further, but he meets an untimely death as he eventually loses the wheels. He lost his vision and he lost his clear judgment and dies in an auto crash as he rests in peace after he bombed his brand new car and it sent him home. His death was as a result of his excessive drinks. So it's just like a satire trying to portray that a government driver on his retirement who has abstained from drinking all this while decided to drink that day and met his doom. Okay, so I believe you have enjoyed the overview of the 6 selected African poems for WAEC. For detailed analysis, some of the poems have been analyzed, the rendition have been provided. You can walk through the channel and get set. Okay, and for others that will be released subsequently, I would like to admonish you, please do well to subscribe, click on the notification button. Do not forget to like this video if you've considered the content valuable to you, and wish you all the very best. Get to see you later. Take care.